there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony, and today for my second Black Series review we are taking a look at this. The Black Series Deluxe Dark Trooper. Now, I mentioned in my previous review that I am an out-of-the-box collector, and I meant it. Don't get used to these box reveals at the start of the videos. They won't last long. I only got this figure a couple of hours ago, so I just haven't got around to busting it out yet, but already I am incredibly excited to get this guy open. But I suppose we may as well have a look at the box while I've still got it. Excellent artwork on the side here, which is obviously repeated on the back. And that is about all I care to have a look at the packaging. Let's get this guy out. And here we have the Deluxe Dark Trooper out of the packaging, and he is a marvel to look at. The sculpt work on this figure is just fantastic. I love all the glossy black, these sections of translucent plastic in the legs to give the impression of there just being like a mechanical construct. It just looks exceptional. I feel like I can almost see myself in the gloss. And I feel like every time I touch it, I'm going to leave a grimy thumbprint in this beautiful glossy black paint. But it is just a marvel of engineering. I feel like there are two areas in which the Black Series always excels. One is droids and the other is aliens. And this droid is no exception to that rule. He just looks spectacular, and because he's already an artificial being, it doesn't look unnatural to have all of these joints and hinges all over the place. It just looks exactly like it's supposed to look. It looks like a big, menacing droid, and I love every single aspect of it. One thing I did notice straight out of the packaging is this chest section here is not pegged to the figure. You can remove it, but you have to take the head off, you have to take one of the arms off. It's not meant to come off. But what it does do is enable a tremendous range of motion with the arms, because it will just move out of the way as you move the arms. And it doesn't take much to sort of position it so it looks like it's fixed in place. Moving on, let's have a look at the articulation. Now, there is a ball joint at the top and bottom of the head that will allow for a full exorcist twist. Ain't that great? There are, if we come back here, butterfly joints in the shoulders, as well as another ball joint that will enable you to come all the way out and go more or less all the way around. The armor will move out of the way if you want to do a full windmill motion. Coming down the arm, there is no bicep swivel, but instead there is this beautiful and very satisfying joint in the elbow that will enable you to twist the arm in a very robotic manner. And of course, the elbow will bend at 90 degrees, and because he's a droid, it will also go backwards. The forearm will twist, and as will the wrist. And it's also, again, on another one of these very cleverly engineered and very droid-looking pivot hinges, so it can move back and forth like so. There is a ball joint in the upper body. There is also a swivel at the thigh. The legs will go forward such, and they will go back. A fair amount. There's a sort of soft plastic pouch here that gets in their way. Not their fault. The knee will bend and will also twist independently of the thigh. There is a pivot in the ankle, and there is also a rocker. Now, the Dark Trooper is supplied with their blaster rifle. It's got a very sort of sawn-off shotgun look to it. There's a nice little application of silver paint in there. The rest of it is cast in this kind of dull gunmetal grey. It hasn't got really a sheen to it. It's a piece of grey plastic with a bit of silver on it. But it does look very dynamic and very unique from the other blaster designs in the line. In addition to this, you are also provided with two of these little ball-jointed blaster effects, which are intended to peg into the feet to give the impression that the Dark Trooper is launching off the ground. As you can see here, there are little holes in the feet. The ball joint of the effect simply pops in there, and there you have a Dark Trooper with a rocket-powered boot. And since this is a deluxe release, the accessories just keep coming. We have alternate fists for the Dark Trooper's hands. Now, this is obviously meant to emulate their action of punching through a door, but it does fit very easily onto the figure, and it makes for a good alternative appearance. Simply remove the existing appendage, like so. You'll find it's a simple peg joint, and you'll then find that inserting your chosen appendage is as simple as that. Now, truth be told, as dynamic as the poses that you can get this guy in really are, there's only one critical flaw, and it's a flaw that's shared mostly by General Grievous. The Dark Trooper has ever so slightly weak ankles. You can kind of see here, there's a little bit of give between the angles at which the ankle joints will lock and support the figure, and that can cause some problems when you're trying to stand him. If you stand him too straight, he has a tendency to lean forwards. You can sort of see that tiny bit of movement there that will eventually, over time, build up and cause the figure to fall. Whereas if you stand him sort of leaning backwards, he's prone to dropping in the other direction. But once you find a solid spot to plant his feet, he does hold his weight surprisingly well for a figure that looks this top-heavy. And I think, again, that has a lot to do with this loose and quite lightweight bit of plastic here. I think that is intentionally keeping the figure very balanced. And you will find that the Dark Trooper's impressive and intimidating deluxe form scales perfectly against the puny Beskar Mandalorian. These two just look great together. I think it's the contrast of the black and the silver that just really sets them off. I think it looks absolutely brilliant. For more of a fair fight, you can see here how the Dark Trooper scales against some additional deluxe figures in the line, such as Garazeb Aurelios or General Grievous. He still cuts a very imposing figure, even when he's standing alongside fellow deluxe figures in the line. But really, this is who you want to see the Dark Trooper posed with, looming over the shoulder of their master and commander, Moff Gideon. This really is a solid deluxe release. You know, if it weren't for those ankles that they cause you so many problems when you're trying to stand this guy up. So, I mean, maybe there's something you can do about it. Like maybe there's a technique you can use to sort of tighten the joint, because I think if these ankles were just a little more solid, it would be perfect. There'd be absolutely nothing you could say against it. It really is an absolutely spectacular figure. It's just those Achilles heels. That's all that lets the figure down. So that was the Star Wars Black Series Deluxe Dark Trooper. An absolutely exceptional figure, cast beautifully, painted even better, and only really let down by the tiniest weakness in his ankles. They're gonna cause you so much grief when you're trying to stand him on a shelf, and he's a big guy. When this guy goes down, he's gonna take a lot of figures with him. I've been Grand Moff Tony. Thank you very much for watching. You may subscribe when ready. And I think... you jerk.